So the plan has changed. If you're new, my name is Leela. I mostly grow cut flowers and vegetables on about 1/4 of an acre in Virginia Zone 7B. A few weeks ago, I had an idea of growing a $50 cut flower garden using only seeds from the Dollar Tree and Target and keeping all of the big expenses under that $50 budget, using only things that I have around my garden. I've been learning about cut flower gardening for the past few years and watching almost every video on about how to plant a garden. I've never found a full video series or just video walking through the full process of selecting the seeds, planting the garden, harvesting the garden, and seeing what those bouquets actually look like. So with this series, that is what I'm attempting to do. Keyword is attempting. I started the seeds, I planned out the garden, I even started prepping the garden beds, but then it rained and snowed and rained, and I realized that maybe where I thought of putting this garden was not the best choice. So I decided to change it around, and then it keeps going. Okay, there's more. Some new seed packets entered the villa. So the plan has changed. Not really, but a little bit. It's changing, but it's changed. I feel like we're done with the change. I'm still doing the $50 cut flower garden with a few tweaks here and there. So first, I want to talk about the actual garden. Last summer, I was able to get the lot next to my house, so this is where I was planning on putting this garden. I had laid it out, I had designed it, I was so ready to go, and I started working on it. I started clearing the plots where I wanted to put these garden beds, and then it rained, and it flooded, really, really bad, and I realized that even though the rest of my garden has been almost no problem with drainage, this garden and this lot is going to be a different story. Right where this garden bed is where a house used to be. And on top of that, the bedrock underneath all of this land, I've just learned, is granite. So I don't know if you've ever poured water over a rock, but it doesn't go through. It doesn't go through the rock. So that's kind of what we're dealing with. I think I have heavy clay or just really compacted soil. I'm not sure. The biggest option would be to somehow broad fork or till, but this is a $50 cut flower garden. I don't have a broad fork and I don't have a tiller. So the way I saw it, I had 4 options. I could move the garden to where I have the rest of my garden, kind of carve out a space. I have a whole other garden that's not this $50 cut flower garden, so I could squeeze in some of this space to make room for the $50 cut flower garden. I could also make it smaller. My initial plan was that this cut flower garden would be on a 10 by 10 space, or about 100 square feet, or about 9 square meters, and have 4 separate quadrants. That way you could take what I'm doing in one of the quadrants or 2 of the quadrants and replicate it wherever you have space. So when I was thinking of going smaller, I thought, well, I could maybe squeeze 1 or 2 of these quadrants somewhere else in my other garden. Or I could make it just smaller where I had it and not have 4 garden beds and put the garden beds that I am growing on the higher land. I thought I could give up, just tank the project completely. Or, which is the option we're going with, I could try to make it work. So that's what we're trying to do. But before I get into this garden space and my plan to address the drainage, let's start talking about the budget and the seeds. In the previous video, I went over my entire list at the time of the seeds that I was planning on starting. I have a list of cool weather seeds that I started and are actually germinating and growing. And then I have a list of warm weather annuals that I'm going to be growing when the season starts getting warmer. I'm going to be doing this whole project with just plastic tubs that I got from the Dollar Tree, no grow lights, no heat mats, using nature and trying to just get a little bit of a jump start on starting these seeds. So I utilized a warm week that we had and these seeds germinated. They've been growing on colder nights. I've been bringing them inside when it dips below freezing. Most of these seeds are cold hardy, which is why I'm starting them now. But just to give the little baby plants a little protection, I bring them in when it's super cold. Like right now, they've been inside for a few days. They're getting a little leggy, but I think they'll be okay. We're going to have some warm days coming up really soon. That was the plan. Those were the seeds. If you want to see the full list of seeds that I started in the last video, you can go see that. But I'm also going to put a list down below of the seeds that I'm starting now because it has changed. I went back to Target and I found these mixed seed packets. And I realized I probably should have done this from the start. If you're looking for a budget garden, I think this is the way to go. I took the seed packets, I looked at the back. Part of it is you have to kind of know what seeds you want to start, so there is that barrier, I guess. With these seed packets, you can just spread them out. I've never done this myself, but they're meant to just be spread out. You'll have some things grow and you'll have some things not grow, and that's kind of the beauty of them is they're simple and easy. Things will grow from these seed packets if you just sprinkle them, but I like to have control. I like to know what I'm growing and where, and I want to make this garden very curated, if that makes sense. That's just my gardening style. You could do things totally different. So I got the seed packets. I sorted all the seeds out. I Googled them. If you don't know, perennials generally don't bloom the first year. There are some that will, but in general, perennials won't bloom that first year. So I'm going to save the perennial seeds for another day and another time. Maybe I'll sow them in the fall and they'll come up next spring. But for this project, I'm going to stick to mostly annuals. So I was able to get quite a few new seeds out of these mixed seed packets, including some new and different Chinese forget-me-nots, which I know are biennials, but I'm gonna try. Some poppies, which initially I wanted to get poppies, and I actually bought poppy seeds, but they just didn't fit in the initial budget, so we ruled them out. Also, basil. I really wanted basil, but it, again, didn't really kind of fit. I ended up going for lemon balm, but someone said that lemon balm can spread kind of like mint, so that got kicked off the budget. So then I was kind of left with no like foliage or filler plants, and so the basil is back in with the seed packet. In this mixed seed packet is Chinese asters or China asters. It's a mix. It doesn't say like how tall they get or what they look like, so those are kind of, we'll wait and see. But I'm also excited because it has Lacy Facilia, which just looks really cool, and I love like purple and blue, so we'll see how that one works. So I'm going to try and incorporate that also in the garden plan. And this other packet comes with 4 types of seed, which are actually already divided and separated for you, which is awesome. So I'm going to be starting the phlox this week. It's something that I probably could have started a few weeks ago, but because of these seed packets, I'm able to eliminate some of the seeds that I already have, like the cosmos that I was planning on starting are the same exact variety as the ones that I got from the Dollar Tree. I'm also going to be adding in echinacea, which is a really popular winter sowing plant. So I think these will do really good with the method that I'm seed starting by putting the seeds in these little plastic containers, setting them outside to germinate, and then planting them up into the garden beds when they're big enough. And also it comes with some sunflowers. I'm still going to need to buy more sunflower seeds for my garden plan currently, but it's nice to have some bonus. I was really just excited about these phlox. They're not super tall, but I think they're just going to be fun, and hopefully they smell really nice like normal. If you're interested in seeing how this series turns out, be sure to like and subscribe. I've also been doing a weekly seed starting video. I started with 8 weeks till my last frost, then I did 7 weeks to my last frost, and this Monday will be my 6 weeks to my last frost, and that's where I'll start these phlox seeds. So if you want to see that, stick around and we're going to get some of these seeds started. So with these new seed packets, the total for seeds spent in this $50 budget comes to anywhere between $15 to about $20, depending on whether you go with the mixed seed or not with the mixed seed. I'm going with the mixed seed, so the total is $20, and I'll do a full list down in the description, and I'll also try to link the spreadsheet if I can. And now I want to get back to the garden beds. So initially my plan with the $50 cut flower garden was to just grow in the soil, to not really do anything. I'd have to deal with the weeds and have to deal with anything that might come up, but that was the plan. Super simple, super easy, just plant directly into the soil. And I could have done that, but I think the seeds would drown at this point. The plan now is to build up these beds basically as tall as I can. Eventually, I think on this land, I'd love to broad fork it or do something that would like actually get down into the clay and the soil that's like compacted and won't let water through. But in the short term, just for this project, just for this season, dumping soil on top is the plan, and also to work on the drainage so that the water actually drains down on slopes to get off the property. So that's what I'm going to be working on. And for the 4 quadrants, I'm going to stick with it. I'm going to try to do the 10 by 10. Some of them might be more waterlogged than others. I guess it'll be interesting to see how that turns out. Like I said in the beginning, I'm going to try to stick to the $50 budget. So I will be using things that I have. These are things that if you have property or you have land or you have neighbors with property, I'm going to be using things like leaves around my property to sort of bulk up these beds before I layer a top layer, very thin layer of soil on top. So the budget doesn't really include a lot for soil. If I already had some of the seeds that I'm going to be starting, like you already have seeds in your drawers that you just don't know what to do with, you could totally buy soil in bulk, and that's definitely the best way to go for prices and budgets. And I will be doing that for the rest of my garden. For the sake of this project, I don't think it's really in the budget, so we will not be buying soil in bulk, but if you have the option to do that, I definitely recommend that. I'm going to just be using soil that I have in other parts of my garden that I want to revamp or reuse. When I first started gardening, I didn't know a lot about soil health, so this soil is not the best. So I'm going to be moving soil, moving leaves, moving mulch that I've made myself and building these beds up as high as I possibly can, and then layering some soil on top. One of the things I do want to say is that I know that some of the things I might be doing, you might be like, girl, just like do it the fast way. Just till the garden, just broad fork it. It's not that big of a deal. Or why are you sorting out all these seeds by hand? First of all, this is my hobby. I love it. The more time it takes away from all the other things in my life, the happier I am. So I don't mind doing these things. If I didn't like it, I wouldn't be doing it. Obviously, it's a free country. Free will is a thing. You can do whatever you want. And you can choose to sort these seeds out by hand if you want or not. It's up to you. It's your garden. You can grow whatever you want. I know it might be frustrating, I feel like, to watch me like sort these seeds, but I really enjoy doing these things. And I think the biggest takeaway for me, or the biggest lesson I've learned in my life so far, I'm pretty young, not too old, but doing things on a budget takes time. Like, it's going to take longer to get this soil to be super healthy, to get these seeds the way I want them to be sorted out and nice and neat, and to count them and to start them. If I had grow lights, and heat mats, they'd be growing bigger and healthier right now. If I had fertilizer, they'd be, big and bushy. I think at the same time, doing things on a budget also encourages creativity. It encourages you to think outside the box, to use what you have, to rethink the way that you think you should be doing things. For example, I had my seed plan, and then I realized, these mixed seed packets have seeds that I would want. If I just take the time to sort them, it saves me money. It's a creative way to incorporate more plants into my garden that I wouldn't have incorporated otherwise. And there are some seeds in these packets that I probably would never grow, but now that I have them, I will. I have a whole garden that I have planned and I have seeds for and that I'm growing. I don't need to do this $50 cut flower garden, but it seemed like a fun challenge. I felt like there was kind of a gap on YouTube of someone doing this for cut flowers, and I love sorting seeds and trying to ID them. If you're feeling limited by budget or time or space, I see those sorts of things as a challenge and a fun way to think creatively. So instead of it being a limiting thing, I think it can also be a fun and creative thing. So that's kind of my thoughts on the $50 budget and why I love doing this. And I think it's going to be fun to see what it turns out. Maybe none of these plants grow and they all turn out dinky, but I think it's going to be really fun anyways. So I hope you stick around. So let's also talk soil. So for these garden beds, because I'm building them up using a lot of the things that I already have, I'm able to sort of keep the soil cost lower. So anything that you have, like garden waste, ask your neighbors for leaves. You can even call in like tree companies and ask for bulk mulch. They'll just like drop it off, or you could go and pick it up. I haven't done that myself. I've just heard that you can do that. So that's something I'm also considering for like mulching the pathways and even just filling up these garden beds. But for the soil, I'm going to be using 1 to 2 bags of compost and manure per bed. I had found on Walmart this same bag for $1 cheaper than at Lowe's and Home Depot. But when I went to Walmart, the aisle that it said it was in did not exist. It like wasn't there. So I have a feeling that they have these on a truck somewhere or en route or in the back, but they're just not put out. So if you live somewhere warmer than me, they might be available at Walmart. Maybe you could get them delivered. I'm not sure. The soil total cost at the higher price is about $23. That's with a 2 cubic foot bag for soil starting of the Stay Green soil that I got from Lowe's in the last video. Any of the soil that's left over, which there will be plenty, will go in the different garden beds spread out. And then the budget currently includes 1 bag of this compost and manure per garden bed. If you're doing less and you have the same budget, you could fit more soil. So it just depends on what you're doing and how you're fitting everything in. And if you're trying to add this up and you're saying 23 plus 15, 23 plus 20, that doesn't quite equal 50. I included in the budget the 2 storage bins that I got from the Dollar Tree. And I also have, which I've linked down below, it's an Amazon affiliate link, but it's this mycorrhizal fungi mix. It's just a little tiny packet. It was about $5 on Amazon, and it helps the roots form positive relationships with the microbes in the soil. I'm not an expert. Don't quote me on that. If you know more about it than me, please feel free to share your knowledge about how that works. But I've done some tests and experiments on my own seeds so far, and it seems to be doing good. So anytime that I transplant my seeds or just sow seeds directly into the garden, I'm going to be sprinkling a little bit of this either directly on the roots, in the little hole that I dig, or right with the seeds, so that those roots, when they start germinating, have this to help them grow. So that's sort of the basics. There's not much to it. It's seeds, it's soil, and it's the seed starting materials. That's sort of the budget. Again, I'll link it down below. I got one of my beds fully set up and I feel really good about it. Like, this is a bed that I'm ready to plant in. And we actually just had some snow, so I'm probably going to take these poppy seeds and sprinkle them over the snow where I want them, and hopefully they will grow. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any comments or feedback, please let me know. If you're going to try this, also give it a go, give it a try. If you're warmer than me, you can go ahead and check out the previous video for the seeds that I would be starting when things get warmer here, if that makes sense, like zinnia, cosmos, marigolds, all those fun things. I have my little like seed list over there, and you could take the cooler weather seeds that I'm starting now and just start them in the fall. So anyways, that's sort of my advice. That's what I'm going with. The plan has changed, but we're still doing it. We're sticking to it. So be sure to like and subscribe to see how this garden turns out. Please wish me luck in this journey. Yeah, I'm going to continue setting up these beds, and I will see you in the next one, which will be a seed starting video. So bye.